with Syrah. Nope, Syrah, come up. Well, my name's Steve Russell, and we got to Southern Oregon pretty indirectly. Our dream, our goal after selling our companies was to move to Napa or Sonoma and basically join into the fray and be one of those folks. But I really thought that before I make that jump, I should do research. And so, as we talked up there, we researched from Santa Barbara clear up to Walla Walla and all of the regions in between. I found this property on the internet because the guy said vineyard potential, and it had, to most eyes, did not have vineyard potential because there was no vineyard here, and I was in Austria vacationing, actually doing a motorcycle tour of the Alps area, and was in an expensive restaurant and asked the wine steward to bring me out what he felt was the best example of Austrian white wine. And he brought out a Gruner Veltliner. And I had never even, I've been a wine collector for 20 years, and I hadn't even heard of the grape before. And I tried it, and it was simply sublime. And you know, I came back to the United States looking for a U.S. producer, and there weren't any. So we did some studies on heat units and used Dr. Gladstone's work from Australia with respect to heat units, and figured out that this site, after we got work done from Dr. Jones, was well matched to Gruner Veltliner. And so we planted it, and the stock originates from UC Davis, and we were and are the first winery in the United States to do Gruner Veltliner. There are now, I know of at least one other in the Willamette Valley that does it. We have 200 total acres, 35 in grapes, 5 with irrigation ready to put another 5 acres in. We grow our major varietals are Pinot Noir, Tempranillo, and Syrah in about equal amounts, and we do a little bit of Grenache. And the theory behind the planting selection was that when we did the climatology study and we based our heat units or compared them to Gladstone's work, we were in class 4, which is where Tempranillo goes. It just is perfect. But I surmise that not every year is your perfect year. It's not the average. So in certain years, you're going to have a cool year, and your Pinot Noir and your Tempranillo is going to be phenomenal, and your Syrah may not ripen. And then in hot years, your Syrah is going to be really good, and your Tempranillo will always be good, and your Pinot Noir may be overly cooked. So what we do is we really monitor heat units throughout through the year, and then we adjust our crop yields and our different canopy management techniques. Well, we have right now 35 acres planted. All of the blocks have biblical significance. The names have biblical significance. But very few people know that in the book of Genesis, it talks about Noah as being the very first vineyard owner, the very first winemaker, and the very first drunk. And this is I'll show you when we go up, the actual scripture. And after he got drunk, and it says this in the Bible, he lay naked in his tent. And it's just a blast. I tell people that, they don't believe it. So God's very, very much a part of everything that Gloria and I do, and we give him the credit for what success we've had. We got into a lot of trouble though, because with our first vintage, I had seen Joe Dobbs had Gandhi quoted on his cork. And so I challenged my Sunday school class to come up with a Bible verse that I could put on my cork that would put wine in the proper light. And they came up with Ecclesiastes 9:7, which reads, "Drink your wine with a happy heart. God approves of this." So I thought, well, there's no greater endorsement than God saying, go ahead and drink wine and have a happy heart. Well, I was new, I'm new, I'm a tenderfoot in this business, and I submitted for label approval, and I didn't know they had to approve what was on your cork. So, but I put it down. Well, the government came back and said, denied, you can't put that on your cork. Well, I had already spent $5,000 on corks. I already put them in my bottles. They were fire branded. And I hired an advocate in Washington to fight this. And we lost. And they came back. And the reason we lost, they said, you're making a therapeutic curative claim. Think about this. Drink your wine with a happy heart. God approves of this. So I said, no. I said, we got to fight it again. So we appealed it. We fought it. We lost again. So I said, well, what am I going to do? I can't, I'm not going to lie. The corks are in the bottle, but I can't take the corks out. I can't do that. They said, well, write them a letter and just explain your situation. So I first went back to my Sunday school class and I said, you guys got me into this. Now pray and get me out of this, okay? And they did. And I wrote a letter and I said, look, we're just a small family-owned winery. We had no clue that you would have a say in what we put on our cork. Making a long story short, they granted us a use-up right, meaning that we could use up the corks that we bought and we put in the bottles, but we could never use the Bible scripture again on a cork. Those bottles, which were our first vintage, are now selling for, at auction, over $100 a bottle. The ones that have the cork that are the famed outlawed cork. So God has an interesting way of making lemonade out of lemon. And I've saved probably about 20 cases of wine that has that cork in it, so I'm waiting for the right time to re-release it. So
what are you using on the cork now?
Well, they have allowed us to put on Ecclesiastes 9:7. So our hope is that somebody opens the bottle, looks, says Ecclesiastes 9:7, and goes to the Bible and says, who would put Ecclesiastes 9:7 on a cork? And then look at it. So
the Lord works in mysterious ways, I guess.
He does. I believe it. Invest in a pretty extensive library, probably $10,000 to $15,000 library. Invest in the people who I thought were the best consultants in the world. One being Dr. Richard Smart, who came out and looked at the vineyard and critiqued it for me. In the beginning, Joe Dobbs from the Willamette Valley. The first year was my consultant and taught me a lot of his tricks and not tricks, I shouldn't say, but his methodologies. And I've taken probably literally countless seminars from OSU, from the Unified, and on and on and on. And plus I just ask a lot of questions. Actually, my first year, I worked free of charge for Avicella. We did about 4,700 cases last year. Bottlings we will do probably, see, because we have a little Semillon and we also have a little Roussanne, and do about 10 different bottlings when we include our reserves in that.
You got a little project going on here. It's just up the hill here. What's going on there?
Yeah, we're really excited about that. We've outgrown our little facility, and we are building caves into the hillside with an above-ground winery attached to those caves. So we'll actually have our tasting room in the caves, and I'm just excited about getting into a facility that I can move around in and not have to bottle in February outside, basically. So.